This is Let's Talk About Health in Africa on Utano Podcast with me, Lenias, Hwenda. Today on Utano Podcast, what progress has Afrigen made making mRNA vaccines in South Africa? My guest today is Professor Petro Terblanche, the Managing Director of Afrigen Biologics in South Africa, who is leading the WHO hub for mRNA vaccine production in South Africa. I asked Professor Terblanche, what progress is Afrigen making since it embarked on a journey to develop its own mRNA vaccine, following in the footsteps of Moderna and BioNTech? Professor Terblanche, welcome to Let's Talk About Health in Africa on Utano Podcast.
Lenias, thank you very much for the opportunity once again to talk to you and to share the wonderful, amazing, challenging journey of Afrigen over the last 2 years. What progress have we made? First, to be able to develop a vaccine candidate, an investigational new drug, because we did not receive a technology transfer. We, with our academic partners in South Africa, developed it by ourselves with help from all over the world, the experts. To be able to do that, the first thing you need are the people that has the ability and the skills. The second thing you need a facility. You need equipment, you need processes, you need a facility that is suitably designed to make an mRNA vaccine. So what was the first thing we had to do? Get the people. We've grown the team from 20 to 146 engineers, scientists, pharmacists, analysts in a period of 18 months. Secondly, the facility. At the time of the announcement, we had just started the construction of a GMP end-to-end facility. Where are we now? We have completed the end-to-end research and development laboratories. And we are in the final phases of completing a GMP facility that can do drug substance and drug product manufacturing for mRNA vaccines. And where are we with the process development? We've gone from microliter scale. Once we had proof of concept in an animal model, we scaled now to 1 liter drug substance, which is roughly 6 liters drug product, and that's about 30 to 50,000 doses, depending on the concentration of the dose. And it is a scale up from microliters to liters, which is in science massive. And while we did the scale up in the process development, we then started doing the animal testing. And we chose to have a comparator vaccine, which is a commercially available, approved vaccine. And our vaccine, Afrivac 2121, named after Africa vaccine, and 21st of June 2021, where Dr. Tedros and South African president and the French president made this announcement that we will be the hub for mRNA. Afrivac 2121 has now been tested in several animal models and a large number of outcomes and endpoints, and is found to be comparable in all of these to the gold standard, which means that the teams here in South Africa, with the support from many, many individuals and organizations, have gone from green fields, from nothing, to a product that is comparable with a gold standard, with a facility that's almost completed for end-to-end supporting vaccine innovation on the continent, and people that has the ability and the skills to do it. For us, it was an amazing journey. It was not easy. There were many, many, many difficult times, and there were many failed experiments. But where we are now, we are in the last final stages to validate a platform that we will transfer, and a platform that's suitable for vaccine innovation. And we've already started with some other vaccine candidates, which we can discuss later. The other point that I want to share with you is, while we were building this and creating this, we started already and transfer the knowledge as we gain it to our 15 partners in low and middle income countries. 15 partners in 15 countries on 4 continents representing more than 3 billion people. 14 of the 15 of our partners already have received the first part of the knowledge transfer. We are proud that we have the partners that we can work with to share the knowledge and give access to the mRNA technology platform here developed at Afrigen with the greatest support of the World Health Organization.
Big progress, and congratulations would be in order. And I guess that is all thanks to the brilliant team that you have managed to put together at Afrigen, and of course the support you've been able to get from your partners. Now, what does all of this, what Afrigen has achieved so far, what does it mean for the future of vaccine production in Africa, especially for the intractable problems like HIV and TB that scientists have struggled to find vaccines that can effectively protect people from infection?
Look at the Partners for African Vaccine Manufacturing, the African Union, African CDC strategy for vaccine manufacturing in Africa, and the vision to by 2040 take us from 1% today to 60% of the vaccines that the continent needs manufacturing. Mm-hmm. In the careful analysis and gap analysis that was conducted during 2021 as an input to develop the strategy, some of the critical findings were, if we look at end-to-end vaccine development, research development, and enabling manufacturing, there were critical gaps in the competence and capabilities of the continent. Amongst these are facilities that can produce clinical trial material, facilities that can produce material suitable for preclinical studies to enable vaccine innovation, and capabilities for process development to move vaccine discovery to vaccine manufacturing processes. What Afrigen here with the teams and BioVac, our consortium partner, has now created and almost completed to go to a GMP license is a facility that can do that. So firstly, for supporting the strategy for vaccine manufacturing in Africa, we now have a facility that's end-to-end and that can support those initiatives. For the neglected diseases and the 22 priority pathogens that the Africa CDC has identified as key health impacts, but also needs for manufacturing on the continent, we have already started with our partners to work on 2 of those. HIV with the South African Medical Research Council and the teams, an international consortium looking at an mRNA vaccine for HIV. Second one is tuberculosis. Already, the Wits University has done the early constructs and now is looking at early mouse studies before we start the scale-up and the further development. In addition, we have also identified RSV as an important leading cause of death in children 0 to 5 years. And we are working on a vaccine with partners to look at maternal immunization to protect babies. This is a high burden, high desirable vaccine that we want to contribute for the continent. And in partnership with Senegal, we're looking at Rift Valley fever as a vaccine candidate to eradicate this disease that is present in West Africa. So we have created the platform and we are building the partnerships to contribute to support, but also to bring new products into the market for our African partners.
Lots of progress, lots of partnerships to really continue to push in terms of your coverage of all of those areas that are neglected, where we are in desperate need of products, of vaccines, of protection on the continent, especially the high burden areas like RSV that you mentioned there, HIV and TB. Stay with us. We'll be right back. Now, you mentioned that your efforts have not been without their own challenges. And one of the challenges that we have seen playing out in the media is the issue published by the investigative journalist Madeleine Davis in the British British Medical Journal last year, that claimed that the WHO efforts to bring vaccine production to Africa were being undermined by pharma companies. And the author wrote, quote unquote, "The Kenap Foundation, a consultancy hired by BioNTech, has claimed that the WHO hub, which is creating COVID mRNA vaccine that African companies can make, is unlikely to be successful and will infringe on patents." Now, you've spoken about having to defend your company against these kinds of attacks from Kenap Foundation. What, in your view, are some of the reasons behind these attacks? I'm thinking, why BioNTech, a company that has done so well from their COVID-19 vaccines globally, why are they coming after a small African biotech like Afrigen?
So, Lenias, at the time that these documents were released and the letter written to the World Health Organization, it was difficult for us, and I've been on in discussions and in the media because I could not understand why a small, insignificant biotechnology startup company that is so committed to access and build and contributing to building the vaccine sector in Africa would be a threat. I would have thought it'd be probably a potential partner. I think at that time there were concerns around that this initiative will infringe IP, that this initiative will dilute efforts, that this initiative will drain resources which could have been utilized for other purposes, and that this initiative, because of the unskilled or inexperienced nature of the teams, may harm mRNA as a vaccine modality. And I think there were so many concerns. I want to share with you rather the positive side. For us as a team here in Afrigen, those stopped us for a moment, and we were, how is this possible that we can attract the attention at such a global level? But in fact, it motivated us. It motivated us to prove, to get it right, to sustain, to succeed, and to build the trust of the world. We knew as the scientists in Afrigen that the one thing that will differentiate us and is a key determinant of the success of this program is good science. The science we develop here, the process and the technology must be excellent, because that way we will earn the trust and the belief of the world that we can. And you know what? In fact, yesterday was in a discussion where I mentioned to a group of civil society organizations. For 18 months, 2 years, I personally and my team have worked so hard to earn the trust of a BioNTech, a Moderna, Big Pharma, civil society, governments, scientists, partners for African vaccine manufacturing, the ecosystem in which we operate, to earn the trust of them that we can, that we will contribute, and we will deliver. And for the first time in the 2 years, I'm starting to feel that we're earning the trust and the respect of the global community, and it's incredibly rewarding for the team and for myself.
I am glad to hear that you are building bridges and beginning to find a place of understanding with companies like BioNTech and Moderna as potential partners going into the future and working together and moving away from those things in the past. But one thing that we, watching all of this play out, have wondered is that other vaccine manufacturers on the African continent and on other continents are also making vaccines using all kinds of vaccine technology platforms besides mRNA. Now, what is it that's unique about the mRNA vaccine technology platform that led to that kind of situation? I mean, academia and biotech companies freely use other technology platforms like the vectored vaccines platforms without being challenged. So what is so unique and what's so different about mRNA as a technology platform that created that situation in the first place?
So Lenias, I call mRNA technology future relevant. The mRNA platform will allow multi-purpose. If the platform is soundly built and well understood, and the science is well understood, such a platform can be utilized for vaccines, therapeutics, gene therapy, crop protection. It is a versatile platform that you will not get with a viral vector of a live attenuated platform, which are quite vaccine orientated. So mRNA has not fully proved itself as a modality for public health. It has proved itself as a vast impact during the pandemic in terms of saving lives, rolling out fast, and vaccinated 6 billion people safely and effectively protected. But there's only 2 mRNA vaccines essentially being registered apart from the cancer therapeutics which are starting to come through. So you mentioned earlier building bridges. We believe that science, the mRNA science, is one of the ways that we're going to build the bridges across many, many disciplines. So mRNA, the footprint is small. If you visit this facility, it's a boutique. It's a small footprint. It is complex. It's biology and chemistry coming together. But if you master it, you have vast opportunities. The footprint is small. It lends itself to very fast response. In a very short period of months, vaccines can be developed and tested, and multiple constructs and combination therapies, and then go into clinical trial. So it is the versatility, it is the future relevance of therapeutics, vaccines, and crop protection that makes mRNA an important capability to have. If we look at in the last 2 years, today there are more than 260 mRNA entities, companies or entities, there's non-for-profits, but there's companies, most of them are companies, being created for mRNA. Most of those are less than 3 years old. So this world is exploding. But if you now look at low middle income countries, in the global south, there are 5. Which one is in South Africa, in Africa. So us, the global south, also need to embrace this technology. And this is what this is about. Build a platform, share it, make mRNA a modality that can have an impact on public health from a therapeutic and a vaccine or a crop protection perspective. And that's partly what drives the scientists here at Afrigen.
Small platform, but huge potential. It is the future, like you say, and it's the broad application that makes it so attractive. And like you say, more people, more biotech companies should be engaging it, especially in the global south. Stay with us. We'll be right back. And when we come back, what's coming on the horizon and what can we expect from Afrigen in the next 5 to 10 years? Now, can any one actor or entity in this space that is involved in using that technology platform, can it actually prevent other users from deploying this mRNA, this technology platform to solve major problems that we are facing around the world, from food security to health security?
So Lenias, the hurdle, I think, is firstly technical skills. Now, that you can build. Secondly, the facility. This is a unique facility. It is a costly exercise to introduce a facility. And the most difficult part is to meet the GMP requirements for a facility which is end-to-end. Those are the hurdles, but it's doable. The one area where there's a potential risk moving forward for many of the countries is intellectual property. The mRNA RNA is very unstable. And the reason why the Nobel Prize went to Drew and Katie was because they were able to, in fact, stabilize it and put it in a carrier that takes it into the body where it can do what it needs to do, and uniquely mechanism of action.
Yes.
The LNPs, those lipid nanoparticles, is a highly intellectual property intense and crowded area. And there are countries where unless you have a license from the holders of the intellectual property, you will be restricted. And unless you find new LNPs that could give the stabilizing and the same efficacy and safety than the current ones, it is difficult. So we have very early on in the program started to work what we call improved thermostability and freedom to operate. And we have 5 partnerships that is evolving now and which are going into implementation, that is looking at new LNPs or something which is not an LNP, which is an encapsulation with modern technology to allow us to stabilize the RNA and to deliver it into the body where it needs to do its function. And I would foresee that in the next 5 to 10 years, there's going to be a major focus on innovation that will allow freedom to operate and improve the modalities of mRNA. So it's an exciting space to be, but intellectual property potentially could hold certain companies back unless they have licenses.
What would you say then to other potential entrants to this sector? You said that the capability is probably one of their biggest barriers for entering this space. Now you've scaled that barrier and managed to get to the other side, and you're in the process of actually making a vaccine that is going into clinical trials. And so that is a big success, but you've also faced a lot of hurdles. And so other potential biotech companies that are looking at Afrigen's story and thinking, we don't want to have to deal with the attack from these big companies, and that can be a dissuading factor for others who should be coming into this space and encouraging that innovation that you need to be happening across the board in order to take this technology platform forward. What would you say to those people who are looking at your story and feeling discouraged?
So depending on where you are in the world, the hurdles to entry and the sustainability will be in different challenges. If it's a biotech company in Europe, spinning out of a university, I would say it's high risk, taking the whole landscape into account. It's high risk, but if you have an investor and a deep pocket that can carry you for many years, go and innovate. If you're in the southern tip of Africa, in South Africa, where there's no VC funding, there is very little funding available to de-risk high-risk ventures, because mRNA is not a low-risk venture. If this is your livelihood, I would think very carefully. If I'm in a university, which are being supported, like in South Africa, in the National System of Innovation, and you want to do innovative work, pre-commercialization or pre-competitive in mRNA, I would say go for it. This is fascinating. As the science evolves, it asks for innovation and new knowledge and experimentation. So depending on where you are in the world, if you are a biotech company in somewhere else in Africa, and you want to have another platform for mRNA to in addition to what is here, my advice would be, let's partner. Don't repeat the school fees we've paid. Don't take the risk that we took. Partner with us. Rather, that would be my advice to entries from Africa and in some of the low middle income countries. And not partner only with us, partner with Biomongineos, partner with Synergium in Argentina, partner with the groups I was in Bangkok in Thailand. It is amazing what they have done. So choose your partnerships before you go greenfields.
And of course, the thing to mention here is that Afrigen has been developing this technology platform in order to share it with others across the continent and in the global south. So that's most of the work has already been done to save them that trouble, like you say. Now you've climbed the mountain and you're beginning to see maybe the top, the summit. What gives you hope about what Afrigen is achieving? What are you most excited about?
Yes, before I tell you that, let me just make a comment about summiting. You know what would summiting be for us? The day a vaccine developed at Afrigen in these facilities that we've built with blood, sweat, and tears over the last 2 years goes into the arm of a human being and it saves a life or it cures a disease. That for us is summit. And that's probably what motivates us. So what gives me hope? What gives me hope is I've seen the people, the young scientists, average age of this company is 33 years old. This is a young company in years. This is a young company, and the scientists, the energy, the engineers here, watching them grow over the last 2 years, watching them learn like sponges, absorbing, growing, solving problems, making decisions, being flexible, take the huge pressure that is put on this company, or sometimes unbearable by the funders, in terms to what we need to deliver in a shortest period of time. Just watching them and just see them keep on going, and these small wins gives me hope for any other young company on this continent that can do it.
Excellent. You are really building the future, the human resource base that will be needed to take this forward. And now to conclude, what's coming on the horizon? What can we expect from Afrigen in the next 5 to 10 years?
So unless we are not successful in sourcing funding, because at the moment, one of our biggest challenges is to have funding to continue the discovery work for new vaccine candidates. For the next 5 years, we want to focus. We want to get RSV out and into the clinic. We want to get a gonorrhea vaccine, which is of critical importance to us, which is in the space of antimicrobial resistance and high burden of disease. We want to move that vaccine candidate where we start the early work. We want to move it through into the clinic. We want to complete Rift Valley fever and move it into the clinic. We want to make progress on tuberculosis and on HIV, both very, very difficult targets to move through. And we want to conclude the innovative work that we're doing on, can we use mRNA on a map, a microarray patch, so that we don't have needles, that we can use patches, and we're working with a Korean company on that. We want to see, can we move our thermostability work to have an mRNA product that is thermostable at 2 to 8 degrees, but at best room temperature, and a map will give you that. We want to continue to innovate, we want to build our teams, we want to expand our capabilities, and we want to complete transferring the technology to our 15 partners. We want each one of these partners to receive not only the know-how, but the technology that allows them to make choices on how they utilize mRNA for public good.
Yes, quite a full pipeline and many, many things. It's clear that your hands are full, and we wish you all the success with all of those projects, because that is ultimately what is going to take the African continent and the many challenges that we face in terms of access to these products in a timely manner. Professor Terblanche, thank you so much for coming on to Utano Podcast today.
Lenias, thank you very much. And we can only do this with partners.